Hi, good morning, everybody. My name is Nick Green, and I'm one of the founding partners of Fatgreen Consulting. What do we do? Well, to put it very simply, we provide insurance solutions. We provide insurance solutions to individuals, we provide insurance solutions to their families, and we provide insurance solutions which protect the finances of their business. But before we start, how did I find myself in the insurance industry? Well, I'd like to share with you a couple of my real life experiences. When I was 10 years old, sadly, my father passed away from a heart attack at the age of 38. As I'm sure you can imagine, this came as a huge shock to myself and my mother, because on the face of it, my father was young, he was fit, and he was healthy. Sadly, what we didn't know was that he had been born with a genetic heart deficiency. More recently, my wife was diagnosed with breast cancer 2 years ago. However, I am absolutely delighted to say that following chemotherapy, a radiotherapy, and a couple of operations, my wife is now in a much better position and our lives are back to some semblance of normality. Well, what is the link between my experiences and my involvement in the insurance industry? Well, let me tell you. As a byproduct of both those experiences, my family benefited financially. My father had the foresight to take out life insurance in the 1970s. With the payment that my mother received from the life insurance company, she was able to pay off our family mortgage. Had she not been able to do so, we may well have had to sell our home. We probably would have had to relocate. I would have probably had to go and make new friends at a new school. So you can imagine the trauma of experiencing loss. Fortunately for us, that trauma was not further exemplified or heightened by having to move house and have our whole way of life disrupted. As a byproduct of my wife having the foresight to take out critical illness insurance in her early 20s, when she was diagnosed with breast cancer, the insurance company paid out. And as a byproduct of that, we received a lump sum of cash. So having experienced negative events, but also having benefited financially from the foresight of both my father and wife, the reason I went into the insurance industry is to try and protect people and try and help them prevent the downside risk which I've seen others go through. I can tell you from personal experiences, experiencing loss or experiencing a loved one going through a difficult period in their life is very, very traumatic. And the last thing you want to have on top of that is the pressure and stress of financial worry as well. So that's why I went into the insurance industry, to help protect people. So what do? As I mentioned, we protect individuals. We protect their families, and we protect their businesses. What I'd like to do now is just bring up our website, which we recently revamped and launched. As you can see along the top, our homepage, our personal solutions, and our business solutions. What I'd like to do today is talk really about our business solutions, because so many of you in the audience are business owners. So imagine this, if you will, for a moment. Picture this. You have a successful business. Maybe you employ 10, 15, 20, 25 people. There are 2 or 3 of you who own the business, all equal shareholders. Perhaps one of you is what I call the brains behind the business, the person who had the idea for the business. If it's a tech company, maybe that person is the person who came up with the idea to develop a new piece of technology for clients. Perhaps the other director is what I call the sales, the marketing, the business development guy. He or she is the person who builds the networks and promotes the business and wins the contracts. And finally, perhaps the other director is what I call the ops person. They're the individual who's really adept at looking at finances, liaising with banks, liaising with investors, and making sure the business is compliant with regulations. Collectively, those 3 people make the core of the business, and they run the business and they make the decisions. Maybe you're in a similar setup. Maybe you can relate to what I'm saying. And maybe your business has been going for 4, 5, 6 years. And maybe it's turning over £2 to £3 million a year now. Perhaps you secured investment in the form of a commercial loan, which required a direct personal guarantee. Or perhaps your business has been attractive enough to warrant an investment from an angel investor or a private equity firm. Business is going well. It's moving in the right direction and you're set to expand. So ask yourself this question. What would happen to your business if one of the 3 people, either the finance director, the head of product design, or the head of business development marketing, what would happen if one of those people was suddenly taken out of the business unexpectedly, either as a byproduct of death, like my father, or as a byproduct of a critical illness, such as my wife? What I've seen historically, and this is backed up by data, is that approximately 50% of all SMEs fail within 1 year of losing what they could define as a core person in their business. Why? Well, first of all, the business enters into a period of instability. Over a period of time, clients start to hear. Investors get nervous about their investment into your business. On top of that, competitors start to hear. And finally, your staff get worried unless they know there is a contingency plan in place which has been properly financed for such eventualities. But in the situation where there is no contingency plan in place, with no costing behind it, people suddenly start getting very nervous. Bankers, who perhaps have extended you business loans, want to renegotiate the financing of those loans. They need reassuring that you can continue to pay them back. Your clients need to know that despite having lost someone in the business, it's business as usual. And all the time, what we see is that competitors start chipping away at the edges. And unless there's a plan in place, eventually the pressure starts to build, revenue starts to slide, operations become affected, people start to leave, and then that is really the beginning of the end for the business. In contrast, for those businesses where the management team have had the foresight and the wisdom to take out business protection insurance, they find themselves in a very different situation when faced with such a situation. In the instance where perhaps their finance director was taken out through illness or through death, had they taken out a business protection policy, they would be able to cash that policy in with the insurance company. Just as I benefited from my mother and my wife's situation, your business would too. Your insurance company would pay out a lump sum of cash. That cash could be used to reinvest into the business and mitigate the damage of any loss in revenue. But by having a contingency plan in place, where you get immediate liquidity being invested into your business from your insurance plan, it enables management to grip the problem and communicate a message to staff, to clients, to financiers, to competitors, that despite having gone through a traumatic experience, your business is okay. It's financially secure and it will come through this situation. So I'd like to finish today by asking you to think about this. If you have invested your time, your energy, secured finance, as well as invested your own finance, ask yourself this very simple question. Are you protected? If your answer is no, or if you are unsure, please feel very welcome to give me a call. Thank you very much for listening and enjoy the rest of your seminar. Bye.